to Henry's humble garage. Here we have a small 18 by 20 steel garage that I built years ago, and I built everything I own in this little garage, or everything I've ever built has just about been built in here. It's cold, but it's easy. It's it's hard to light on fire because it's all metal, so there's no insulation. That's nice. Anyway, the reason I bring you here today is to share with you one of my passions, one of my passion builds. And for all of you who know me personally, or know anything about me, I am not sentimental. I do not like keeping cars because I feel sentimental about them. I've had probably, and this is not an exaggeration, 80 cars or so easy to myself that I bought, restored, fixed, drove for a while, and then sold. And I'm not very sentimental about them. But there is two vehicles I am indeed what I would call a little sentimental about. One is my 1987 Toyota truck. I've had it forever. It's now a four-wheel drive solid axle truck, and I stuffed it in storage and took the wheels off of it and sold them. This way I couldn't sell the truck. And then the next one I am pretty sentimental about, and not because that is, a cool vehicle or anything like that, but because of its history. Sitting to the left of me is Edna. Edna Rose. Edna Rose is a 1943 Ford GPW. During the World War II, Ford and Willys and Bantam were producing Jeeps, Jeep trailers, all kinds of stuff. Ford, I believe, was the last one on the bandwagon to produce them, and they had made the Ford GPW. Fun fact, the grill that you know and love today was actually a 9-slot grill, and Ford made that grill. They stamped it out. And they, believe it or not, they still have the patent for that grill today, which is why they're 7-slot grills, which is why I don't like angry grills. Staying on topic. So anyway, this Jeep is a passion vehicle. I've had it now for a while. It took me a long time to find. I actually traded a really nice dual sport I had for it, and it was a rotted, collapsed pile in a field with a swapped engine and a swapped training. It was a mess. And I've worked on it and collected all the parts I need to basically finish it. Now what you see here to my left is the chassis and running gear, and to my right behind me is the original tub. The tub's in good shape, and I'm gonna reuse it. I contemplated buying a new one because it's just so much less work in welding and body work and plugging holes and everything else, until I thought about it. I thought, you know what? Some of the bravest men that ever walked this country's fertile ground drove in these little things, and it helped win the war. I mean, I think it was Patton that said, without the Jeep, we couldn't have won the war. So I kind of have an emotional connection to that. So that tub is going to get saved. Also, it actually has bullet holes in it. They're all over the back and down the side, and there's a couple even in the floor. Now, this Jeep was indeed shipped back, which is extremely rare back then. They just left them or they shoved them into the ocean or whatever. The reason this particular Jeep was sent back is because it was a radio Jeep. And the only ones they ever shipped back were the General's Jeeps, because they were just the General's Jeep, high-end stuff. The GIs, the soldiers that took them apart and mailed them back, well, that is a true story, but you never know unless, you could verify it by grandpa's grandpa. And lastly was the radio Jeep, because at the time, the radio equipment was extremely expensive. And you didn't want that falling into the enemy hands, whatever was left over there. So this Jeep was indeed shipped back. It went to base and drove around there for a little bit. From there, I don't know where it went or what happened to it. Running gear you see here, which is all actually put together. The brakes, it's kind of funny, everything's on the chassis. The brakes all hooked up. The clutch stuff is all, in line to be put together. The axles are all rebuilt. I did that about 2 years ago. But I'm taking it all back out. And like it or not, I guess, I'm updating the drivetrain so I can use it. Now, originally, I wasn't going to update the drivetrain at all. I was going to keep it completely original because it's just, it's cool. It's all original. But the poor thing can only do about 45. It's all over the road. The brakes suck, and it's gutless. Now, that's cool for a parade float, but, I want to use my Jeep. Edna here is a piece of American history, and I want to roll over the land that it held secure. So I am going to update the entire drivetrain, which is going to consist of the axles, the leaf springs, and the engine, transmission, transfer case, drive shafts. That's it. To look at the Jeep, it's going to look original. But underneath it, I'm actually going to be using 1985, my birth year, excuse me, Toyota Hilux drivetrain, front and rear axles, engine, transmission, transfer case, that whole 9 yards. The reason I'm using the Toyota stuff, I'm sure some of you that are purists, which is none left, things almost 30 years old, probably flipped off your chair. But the Toyota stuff is actually very close to the Jeep stuff. The wheelbase is almost identical. The ring and pinion size is very close. It has Bri-Field knuckles, like you see here, and leaf springs. I'm actually going to use YJ leaf springs. The reason for that is because Toyota actually copied the Jeep. And during the Vietnam War, America had Toyota make Jeeps. They made these things. And Toyota liked them and the Japanese so much that they asked the US government if they could produce one. And it had a stupid name. It's called the BJ something. But it looked like a Jeep. And they loved them. So that ended up turning into the FJ40 Land Cruiser, which everyone knows what the FJ40 is. It's like the forbidden fruit of Toyota world. So they ran really, really close together. That and also Japan, or Toyota today, is our closest ally. And Japan's freaking awesome. They send us so many cool vehicles. I'm obviously a Toyota guy and a Jeep guy. I'm a weird hybrid. That, and also as far as this Jeep's concerned, I mean, it whooped their butt. So, you know, kind of pillage the land, take what it wants, and put it to use. My drivetrain to this Jeep is basically under siege. So anyway, I'm going to update it like that. All the pieces are together here to Wonder Twin Powers activate and make the dream vehicle that is used for overland expedition. Because let's be honest, these things were never meant to be comfortable. I'll top up and drive this little beast because it won't break, I will.